Today I'm back at Alfa City Motors, Kunsu's garage, and I want to make a video about one car. This car. And you might say this car, it's just a painted shell, it's got trims put on it, there's no engine, there's not many mechanical bits here, but there's enough to make a video on. And the reason is, this is a super interesting car. This is a Giulia TI Super. It is incredibly rare. It's a replica, of course, but the story goes back a few months actually, because this is actually the second one that Sue is building. The first one, it debuted a classic revival back in November, and I was blown away completely about this car, because these cars are different. There are so many details, so many differences, and Sue has put such a huge amount of work into tracking down those details and making it an exact, correct replica. Obviously there's some details like it has to be right-hand drive for this market, but this will amaze you. And unfortunately the grey car that he built, the owner was even more excited than I was, the guy who commissioned the car, and it's gone. It's gone up to Chiang Mai, 700 kilometers away. It's gone from me getting anywhere near it. Then Sue said, I'm building another one. And I was straight back down here. Now you might have seen it in my video, my overview of his garage. We just briefly touched on it. If you want to watch that video, talk about the whole garage, what he's doing here, drop down in the description below and I'll put a link in there. But today I want to talk about this. It's not complete, the engine's not in there, and a lot of mechanicals are not in there. But there's so much going on here, and it's so interesting, so unique, so rare, and so much passion and so much work has gone in to getting this car exactly right, that I want to go over to Sue and I want him to talk through what he's done. And I think in the next 5 minutes, if you hang around, you'll be pretty blown away. So anyway, let's go straight over to Sue, no more talking from me, and let's look at this in detail.
The TI Super, a legendary racing car. Its closest competitor then was the Lotus Cortina. And this ran with the Lotus Cortinas at that time before the introduction of the GTA. Alfa Romeo made 501 of these cars, all of them in this color, which is Bianco Spino or Hawthorne White, except for two. The other two, one was gray and one was red. This is the second replica that I've been building. The first one was the gray one seen at Chang Revival last year, and this one is the second one in white. On the TI Super, here we have the TZ style wheels. This is a reproduction. The magnesium ones are no longer available. This is a 15-inch using Pirelli Cinquecento 185/65 profile tires. On the suspension, we rebuild the whole suspension using the original components of the car, have them sandblasted and then powder coated. Every nut and bolt that we can salvage from the original car, we try to reuse, simply for the fact that the tensile strength of the Alfa hardware is so strong. It is actually 10 times the strength of a modern car today. Whatever missing bolts, we will then replace with what we have in stock. And all the bolts are hand polished and cadmium plated before they are remounted onto the suspension. Over here you see all the new piping for the brake lines, the hydraulics, and also the fuel. The big one here is the fuel. And we have new master cylinders for both brake and clutch. These arms have been restored. Got all the fuel lines and hydraulics. Coming to the rotors, where we have the rebuilt Arte calipers. And for the rear, this is the typical 105 live axle. All the components again have been restored by sandblasting and powder coating. We have rebuilt the whole axle, overhauled the limited slip differential on this one, and with all new bearings. All hardware has been cadmium plated. This is a bit of a race car, so it has iBug progressive springs. And because it's a race car, or will be a race car, it also has an electric fuel pump made by Facet, which was the original Italian manufacturer. The TI Super has this very special front grille, which was carried over from the Giulia TI. This is entirely made of brass, which during restoration we had to plate it in copper first before replating in nickel. The lights you see are original Carellos. These are not reproductions. I try to use new old stock as much as possible on my restorations. This is the mesh grille for the inner headlight delete that was standard for all TI Supers and also on the police cars in Italy. A very good friend, Trevor, from South Africa, sent me a pair of original TI Super mesh grille because he was a racer. And with that pair, which I luckily got, I made exact reproductions of the mesh grille, which you see here now, set inside the original TI grille. The tail of the Giulia TI Super is defined by this badge, which is in the middle of the boot lid instead of on the left, and the script Giulia TI Super, which is incredibly hard to find. And this piece, one of my favorites, also from Trevor, I actually got it still in its original Alfa Romeo bag. It was in a sealed bag, which he had never opened. And to help me with this project, he sent me this trim that's fitted on both sides. The lights are Altissimo items, new old stock. This is original to the car. We restored it. You can see how the chrome trim meets the curvature of the corners of the registration plate frame. There's so much detail. This is the empty engine bay. The new wiring loom has been put in. We've used the same colors and also follow the schematics of the original wiring diagram for these cars. And it's all been connected to the new fuse box now. The piping has been connected to the brake booster pumps or brake servos. These are Bonaldi items. On the TI Super, they did not even have a brake booster, but we have added 2 brake boosters here for this car because it's going to be run with a 2-liter engine. So it will need the brake boosters. All right, in the TI Super, they had this very special flying buttress seats. The TI Super only came with one kind of interior trim, which was this light off-white with maroon in all the cars, regardless of the color of the car. These are very special seats, only for the TI Super. This is the metal dashboard of the earlier Giulias, the Giulia TI. And in this variation of the TI Super, the instruments are very special. They are the same instruments that are used in the Giulia 101 Spider. This set of 3 instruments were special to the TI Super against this background of mahogany veneer. And that's a new column, new old stock. I've also got new old stock rocker switches and a new old stock barrel, ignition barrel and key as well. Okay, and on the door cards, a good friend sent me a lot of information from his real TI Super, which were only built in left-hand drives. And I managed to recreate this door card in the exact same detail pattern of stitching. These were standard on the TIs, but this is very special, the braided handle that was also used for the GTA cars as well, with these 2 caps that held the strap into place. This was an effort to lose weight, not really much weight I would say, but a very distinctive feature of the TI Super and the GTAs. This is a very special stereo panel. Only for the TI Super. I got this new stock from Holland. It's got these horizontal strips or slots instead of the regular vertical slots for the air intake.